Welcome to the CP Media Podcast, brought to you by Team CP, your endurance coaching specialist. I am the media man with the mo on tour this week, but welcome Richard Greer from some sturdy internet.
Yeah, exactly. I'm at home base. You'll see that. Yeah, exactly in the master studio. So taking over your place tonight, Angus, while you're away. So looking forward to a huge night. It was Monday night. I thought to myself, we really need to do a Whaka 100 show. What a special event. It was been awesome cheering a whole bunch of people on over the weekend and sort of getting a feel for what's going on. Having a bit of FOMO, you and I, not being able to be there this year. So I thought we'd make a bit of a song and dance and share some awesome stories that come out of the weekend.
Yeah, 100%, Rich. We all know that COVID's been a real drag on a whole lot of things. So to see the effort that Tim and Belinda and the whole team at the Whaka 100 went to get that up and running, to have it on cue, and to just see the thousands, hundreds and thousands of people that turned up there, absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely. And they turned on the weather, and I've just heard nothing but positive things about the event. So looking forward to sharing some stories tonight. Some of the awesome things, some of maybe the challenges along the way, and give us those that are looking at the event potentially for the future, or hey, how do I improve? Maybe some tips out of the show to see how we could go about doing it for ourselves.
Yep, and tonight we're going to do something just a slight bit different. We've got about 5 or 6 guests lined up for tonight. We're going to try and just roll through them from the top end to some people that, went at it in a different way, and just get some quick stuff from them just to see how their races unfolded.
Absolutely, yep. So we've got so just as a bit of an overview of the show, we've got Samantha Kingsford, who we're talking to. So she was a second woman across the line. We're going to talk to Greg Dick, who did 40 minutes faster than he's ever gone before, which is pretty awesome. Sam Osbourne, who was pipped. Tim Rush just nailed him on the line. He got third overall as a triathlete. That's a pretty awesome result. We're going to talk to Clement as well. He has got a pretty cool story, rode a single speed, and we've just heard a provisional result where he actually might have won that, which is pretty incredible. And we're going to talk to Ben Oliver, who absolutely nailed the event this year, won the shootout, won the event by 7 or 8 minutes or something like that. Crazy result. Doing some maths, apparently he averaged 22 Ks an hour for the course for his 100 Ks. So hopefully somebody's checked his bike to make sure it's not illegal. So it's pretty impressive. And then we're also going to talk to Tim and Belinda Farmer, who put this amazing event on, and get a bit of an insight to them as well.
And 22K an hour average, some would almost argue that Tim hasn't made this damn race hard enough yet.
Easy. Careful what you say there, Angus. It's a dangerous comment.
It is. Right, Rich. Well, let's roll the show, eh? Let's rip into this. And Samantha, we're going to bring her on for our very first guest for the night. So, welcome, Samantha.
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Welcome. Brilliant. Congratulations on the result of the weekend.
Yeah, thank you. I was a bit unexpected, really, but yeah, I was just happy to make it to the finish line in one piece.
Yeah. And was all that skin on your knees? How did you go?
Yeah, I didn't crash. To be fair, though, I probably played it a bit cautious going down hot grass. A few months before, I was riding out with my sister, and she went over the bars in that last little bit where the S between the trees. So she kind of put me off not riding that for the race. So yeah, if I'd ridden that, I probably would have had some skin off my knees.
Fantastic. And that's one of the great things about the event, isn't it? It's an honest mountain bike event. Like, it's proper mountain biking. It's not just a full drive track. You've got to have some skills to get down the downhill, and it's good fun mountain biking, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, it's a good course.
Yeah, awesome. Have you raced Whaka before? Tell us a bit of background about yourself, Samantha.
So I am a off-road triathlete, do Xterra, but I probably started the whole triathlon career pretty late. My twin sister, she raced the event too, actually, but she kind of got into the sport of doing triathlon, and I started when I was about 20 when I was at university, and I just raced as an age group when I was at university and just kept fit, and then went teaching, did 2 years of permanent teaching at school in Hamilton, and then I decided, I want to go and travel the world, but follow Sam Osbourne around. And I started doing a bit of Xterra, and pre-COVID, this would have been my 3rd year racing as a professional.
Right, great. So you are a professional athlete. That's pretty awesome. And do you do a bit of teaching as well as part of your gig, or how does that sort of work for you? Especially at the moment, must be pretty tough.
I'm relief at the moment. So I'm got a school at home in Minamata, and then I do a bit of relieving here in Rotorua too. So that's keeping me pretty busy. Believe it or not, I feel like I'm teaching full time pretty much.
Brilliant. What were your goals coming into the event, Samantha? Did you have an idea that you were going to be sort of right up the top end? Where were you thinking?
Well, being competitive, I was hoping that I could possibly get on the podium. When looking at the start list, obviously there was Josie and Kate McElroy on the start list, and then a few others that I didn't know, hadn't heard their names before, but I'd heard a little bit about them. But there was also a race, I guess, within the race. I wanted to beat my twin sister.
Clearly you did that. How did she get on?
She had a long day out there. She kind of started a bit slow, couldn't get warmed up, and then she came home fifth.
Okay, all right. So she was coming. So pleased the event finished when it did. By the sounds of that, that's awesome. How did your race unfold? How did it go for you? Did you hit the start line fast and take off quickly? Was that kind of your plan? How did you do it?
Yeah, I mean, most mountain bike races that I've done, they are pretty much flat out, like fast as from the start. So I was expecting it to be really, really fast from the start, but I think the boys at the front were a bit cautious, and it seemed a bit more controlled. I think I just wanted to get to the front, so I had clear space, obviously, getting into the first single trail. And I think me, Kate, and Josie sort of got through the backlog before it got all jammed up. And then Josie, she kind of took off, as I knew she would. She's very strong. And then me and Kate pretty much sort of rode together until, where was it? After Tickler, and then just before the first aid station, Kate sort of took off. But I mean, I'm usually only racing 30K, so I was kind of a bit cautious and thought, I still got a long way to go. I might just hold back a bit. I don't want to end up blowing up. But yeah, so from the first aid station, I sort of lost a little bit of contact with Kate. So yeah, I was kind of by myself a little bit. But yeah, I knew she was in front of me, so I was trying to catch her.
Nice. Yeah, brilliant. And that was, so from that point on, it was just like, what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on let's try and catch her, or let's just make sure I do my own thing, stay with myself, or just putting it all out there? How were you what was your focus at that point?
Yeah, I mean, 100K is a long way, so I mean, you kind of don't want to blow up, I guess. But yeah, I mean, you had the guys around you coming through from behind, so I'm a little bit surfing off them, trying to just hold their wheels, because it gives you a little bit more motivation to keep going. Otherwise you kind of get into a zone of just riding comfortably, and then you're sort of actually slowing down a lot more, and you're not actually keeping the constant speed. So it helped a lot having those boys behind to come through me and tow me up the hill a little bit. And they'd go off and I'd carry on riding, and the next group would come through.
Brilliant. I like that comment about surfing, so sort of using them to help you out a little bit as well. Nutrition-wise, how did you manage your nutrition? There's lots of different theories about how to take this, and also it's what you can carry and what you can actually just manage to have along the way. How did you do it?
Well, if I'm being completely honest, this was probably the thing that was scaring me the most. I'm probably known to not take on enough nutrition on big rides, especially drinking and that. So yeah, this was what was keeping me awake at night. But Sam, who coaches me, we'd set out a little bit of a plan of what to take with me and what to pick up at the aid stations. So basically I had some goos, gels. I think I had about 4 or 5 in my back pocket that I carried with me the whole time. I had some goo chomps, the lollies. I had 2 packets of them. And if I'm being honest, they were probably what saved me. And then I had some 1 square meals, which I actually found really hard to chew and get down. But I just had to make sure that by every aid station that I pretty much finished my bottle with electrolytes in it. So I kind of knew roughly where they were and where they were coming up. So I knew that I had to, if I hadn't drunken a lot of it, I had to get some down me before I quickly threw that one off and then picked up the next one. But yeah, those good chomps definitely saved me, because I don't know if it was just me or others. When you're racing and you're doing a long ride, you kind of start losing your appetite and things start getting a bit boring and you don't want to eat them. But yeah, those good chomps, they were pretty easy to get down.
Yeah, good, because you're huffing and puffing, and that's the thing, isn't it? You're huffing and puffing, and you haven't got a whole lot of saliva to actually be able to chew those sort of more foody foods. So yeah, if you've got a go-to and you just keep throwing those in, that's good. Did you have anybody handing you bottles or doing anything like that, or was it all just you sort of managing yourself?
No, I roped in the girl that I swim with at most mornings here in Rotorua, Lydia Hale. I thought, well, she does a little bit of exterior and she's pretty handy. So I thought, well, I need somebody that probably knows what they're doing. So yeah, I roped her in, and thankfully she was there for me at every aid station, handing it out for me. And yeah, it was pretty good of her.
Brilliant. That's awesome. So key learning to share with others wanting to do the race, like taking what you've done this weekend forward. What would you share with others?
I think consistent training, just making sure you're like doing your training every day. I would probably say get a coach as well. I think a lot of people sort of go in thinking, oh, well, 100 Ks is a long way, especially on a mountain bike. And I think a lot of them go in and think that they have to ride huge amount of Ks each week, and do massive long rides in the weekend and that. But actually, I think if you constantly back up training, that's probably actually more beneficial for you than going out smashing yourself for long rides in the weekend.
And then having to recover after that as well.
Yeah. I mean, pre the race, my longest ride was probably 4.5 hours. It was a little first. I kept to Sam, I think I need to be riding a little bit longer than 4.5 hours. I've got 100 days that I need to ride. But no, I guess, trust the coach. And yeah, he was like, no, you'll be fine. As long as you do all the training that I set you, you'll get through it. So yeah, I think if you haven't got I think for people that want to do the Whaka, I think you probably need to get a coach, because otherwise you're just going to probably blow yourself up pre-race, and you're going to do your race before the race even starts. Yep.
Or worry that you haven't done enough.
Yeah. And I think make sure you've got a good nutrition plan, and try out what you are going to use. Don't start something new that you've never tried before for the race. Otherwise, you may not go down well in your stomach and you end up throwing up maybe.
Brilliant. Thanks, Samantha. But just before you go, just tell me, when did you know you had second place in the bag? How far out from the finish line were you? And when did it actually sink in?
Yeah, I didn't actually find out till quite late. It was when I came down through the end of No Brains and you crossed over the road. There was a guy there with the stop and go, and he was like, well done, you're second in your category. And I kind of looked at him and was like, no, I don't think so. Pretty sure I'm third. And kind of took no notice of it, carried on riding. I was like, oh, he's obviously miscounted. And it wasn't until I came to the feed zone from Yellow Brick, in yellow turn yellow, when I quickly stopped, and my feeder Lydia was like, keep going, like you've got 2 minutes behind Kate, and you're in second. And yeah, I was like, what? Like, no. And then she told me what had happened.
Brilliant. That would have been exciting. So are you back next year? That's the big question, I suppose, before we go.
I would like to be back next year. I guess it all depends on COVID and what happens around the world. But yeah, generally when the Whaka's on, we're overseas. We're about to go and race world champs in Maui. So if I'm in New Zealand, I'll most definitely be back. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens with the state of the world.
Brilliant. Well, Samantha, congratulations on second place at the Whaka 100 in the weekend. Thank you so much for joining us, and all the best with any future endeavours. Again, like you say, depending on what the COVID world opens up and lets us do.
Thank you for having me on.
Brilliant.
No
Well done,
worries.
Samantha.
See ya.
Brilliant, Rich.
Well
Right,
done.
let's keep the bus rolling. The next fella, Greg Dick, I'm really interested here. I really want to know how this happened. Rumor on the mill is that he's this isn't his first rodeo at the Whaka 100, but this time he was 40 minutes quicker than last.
Yeah, no, it's a big effort. Greg has been training super well. Been working with him for the past 6 months or so, actually, leading up into this, and he's had a super good build up. He's done some good lead up races leading up into this. So yeah, no, he had a stellar weekend. So let's bring Greg on, shall we?
Yeah, Greg, welcome, Greg.
Evening, gentlemen.
Good stuff. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me on the show.
Brilliant. How are the legs, Greg? How's the recovery?
Getting better. Today's better. Yesterday I was pretty creaky. It was a pretty big effort.
Yeah, good stuff. So, Greg, tell us a bit about your background. How long have you been riding your mountain bike for, and how many Whaka 100s have you done?
This is my third Whaka, or was my third Whaka. Before that, I got into the mountain biking sort of in the 90s, I suppose, when it sort of first emerged in New Zealand. Previous to that, it was strong college rowing background, bit of rugby, that sort of thing. So I was racing, back in the days when we had a New Zealand series, North and South Island and so forth. So in late 2000, I was traveling overseas. I was away for almost 20 years. And in the last 10 years or so, I got back on the bike and just for fitness, got back into it and started racing pretty regularly. Returned back to New Zealand in 2017, which was my first Whaka 100. And yeah, from there, just sort of keep rolling along and slowly getting stronger and fitter and staying in shape.
Yeah, good. Yeah, you've done super well. It's been really fun working with you, actually. And this time around, you've been involved with Team CP. Tell us about your training plan. Tell us about sort of some of the things that we've done together to get you prepared for this thing.
Very short, precise efforts. I'm working full time, so there's not a lot of spare time to go out training, especially during the week. So we've been on the indoor trainer 2 or 3 times a week during the working week. Quite short, usually only an hour or so, but very quite precise and some at sort of the sweet spot level and some obviously above the old heart rate going. And then some longer rides on the weekends. And sort of over the last 6 weeks or so, my job has been finishing early on a Friday, so I've been able to get a Friday afternoon ride in as well. So adding up sort of up to 4 to 5 hours, sort of between Friday to Sunday, with a day off in there as well, which is
that family time, that Saturday time off as well. That's been part of your week. Yeah, brilliant. And also, we've had a real focus on your strength training as well, like doing some two good quality strength training sessions a week. And that's something that's been a bit different from previous years as well, isn't it?
I got into a bit of body weight training last year just to see, sort of an experiment, I suppose, really. And the improvements was quite phenomenal. And I sort of thought, well, if you could take it to the next level and perhaps get in the gym and sort of ramp it up a little bit, what is achievable? And obviously quite a bit, because I had a bit of a blinder during the race. So again, I think the gym with body conditioning should be, especially for marathon events, length events, should be something that you should seriously look at.
Yeah, nice. Tell us a little bit about your race day plan. So training, how you've done that, but tell us about your actual race day plan. How do we sort of work out that in terms of nutrition and pacing and those sorts of things? Because you are semi-local, you do know the trails and tracks, which I think does make a difference, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Trail knowledge is free speed, essentially. Would highly recommend if you can, at least get out there and ride most of the course, maybe over 2 sessions. It's a huge advantage. So my idea was not to go in wave 1, because I don't start very well. The fast starts tend to
blow you out a bit.
Blow me out a bit. The old heart rate gets too high, and then I suffer later on in the race. So my plan was to get into wave 2, but try to stay in the front and get into the single track, fairly early. And have clean air, which worked out really well.
Nice. Yeah.
And also, as we discussed, Richard, to get the nutrition plan going, and we'd been experimenting for a good, probably 2 months even before, to really get it dialed. So I had M's Power Bites, which are really nice little 1-inch square bites that I'd essentially split down the middle as I ate it and chipmunk. And, and just slowly work away on it as it came into my, and try not to suck down too many oats, obviously. So that was sort of first half of the race. Also electrolytes in the Camelback, not too strong because that can obviously have the opposite effect. But and then in the back end of the race, I had Goo Roctane, which really worked well with me. So I got into, I think I had 7 bites and the same in gels.
Nice. So really dialed in that nutrition. So what's different between this year and previous events, and how did you go this time around?
It was certainly warmer this year. So the first year I did it was 2017, and I'd only been back from I'd been living in the tropics for 10 years, so I really I was it was cold. So I suffered a lot in the cold. And managed to 7:18 or 7:20, somewhere around there. Straight off the bat, I'd had ridden in the redwoods back in the 90s when I was first riding before I travelled, but hadn't been back since, so I was a bit lost, really. I didn't really know what I was doing. And I missed a year. Then 2018 was another cold year, but I'd been into the bodyweight work, so I got a good 10 minutes faster
improvement there.
And I was sort of coaching myself a little bit. Well, actually, I was just coaching myself, and then this year, obviously, I started off on my own thing, and then I realised that I needed to get some, some professional advice in there, which I, got hold of you guys at Team CP, and we got it started.
Brilliant.
40 minutes.
It's a really great effort. 40-minute chunk out of a previous race time is a huge number. So, Greg, just before we move on, tell us, because the Whaka is a race that's full of entrants from all levels and all shapes and sizes and walks of life. It's such an inclusive event, whether you are actually just doing the 25, the 50, or the 100. What's one real key thing you could give to our viewers and that they may learn from your experiences going forward?
Enjoy yourself. At the end of the day, it is sort of a race against yourself in a way, so get out there and enjoy yourself. Get in some consistent training beforehand, and as Samantha said, get a coach involved, because it just gives you that motivation, because it's all just sitting there waiting for you each day. You don't have to think about it. You just get out there and get it done. Be consistent. Get in the gym, I think is a good thing, especially if you're new to mountain biking and endurance sport and endurance distances. And again, don't think that you have to ride huge distances. It's not. That's the new way of thinking is short, precise sessions, and throw in there a 4.5 hour, and Richard even had me doing 6.5 2 or 3 weeks out from the race, so I almost got to ride the whole course in one shot.
Excellent. And just one final thing, next year, how many more minutes you got in you?
Oh, that's a good question, isn't it? I'll aim for a 6.
Aim for a 6. Beautiful. That's a good time.
If I keep the consistency and we keep going the way we're going, I think 6 is achievable.
In fact, let's just lay it down here. What we're doing is we're going to do a sub-6, Greg. We're going to do even if it's just a 5:59, we're going to go a sub-6, right? There's no point stopping at 6.
All right. Yep. We have a deal.
Brilliant.
It's on.
You need to get back training and we need to keep the bus rolling. So, Greg, thank you very, very much for joining us. Congratulations on an absolutely outstanding effort in the weekend.
Well, thank you for having me on your show. It's been fantastic. And I'm going to keep listening in to the other guys that are coming along. There's always some good advice to be heard.
Good stuff. Brilliant. Well done, Greg. Keep up the good work.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.
Now, Richard, before we move on to our next guest, I've got to say we've got some great sponsors that are involved with not only with Team CP, but with our show here, our Wednesday night live show. We've got some people that have just itching to be involved, and two of those are Evo Cycles and, of course, Giant Bikes, who have been a great help for Team CP for many years now. So what we want you to do is on any of our Facebook streams that you may be watching this, comment on why you like the Whaka 100. What's the one greatest thing about the Whaka 100 that you find? Or maybe if you haven't done the Whaka 100, what you think you would like if we could get you there. And we're going to choose two people. Giant Bikes have put up a little Giant Bikes prize pack, and Evo Cycles have thrown us a set of tyres so that we can put some new tread on your wheels this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. So make a comment in the video below and let us know why you want to be there, what's the best thing about Whaka, or why you want to be there.
Exactly. Perfect. Righto. Number 3.
Sam Osbourne.
Number 3, he's third off. He's third cab off the rank. He was third on the weekend. Welcome, Sam Osbourne.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for taking the time to make it along. Sam, you're a triathlete, normally racing Xterra along with Samantha, your partner there. Really interested to hear from you. Third, which is a phenomenal effort, and a sprint finish for second that you just got pipped with, which was a bit tough. Tell us about your last block of training. How much running and swimming do you do alongside your cycling? And because obviously you're prepared for this specifically to go and have a decent crack at the Whaka 100 this time around.
Yeah, look, it was probably something we highlighted quite a few months ago. You know, like this was something, I guess, at the right time of year to obsess over. Usually I will be racing Xterra Worlds in Maui. So I had a talk to the coach, months and months ago, and I said, what about the Whaka? Could be a good thing to essentially, I guess, obsess over. But in terms of, the weekly structure, probably not a huge amount. I was still swimming 5 times a week, and we swim 5.5K most mornings. The running, as it so happened, is I did have a little bit of a niggle in my foot that I picked up probably just before we started our Whaka block. So the running, volume was down a little bit, and I guess because of that, I didn't really do any fast running. But then, when I guess sent that through to the coach, he kind of said, "Oh, look, we better not increase the cycling mileage too much, otherwise we might end up with a cycling injury as well." So probably the biggest change was actually just taking out, intermediate day between the 2 sessions. So I only had, like a 1 mountain bike in between my 2 hard sessions. But other than that, it was bugger all really extra mileage. And just kind of business as usual.
Right. So you're training as a triathlete effectively, and swimming lots. And so around about how many bike rides, how many swims, and how many runs are you doing a week?
So do 6 runs usually, 5 swims and 5 bikes.
Right. And that didn't really change too much, just a bit of extra volume on the bike, but not too much.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but when we talk in terms of, extra volume, we're only probably talking 2 hours of extra volume a week.
Okay.
So not entirely, I guess, that much more. And even in saying that, the sessions didn't really change that much. I guess the philosophy is that you can only really stress those systems for the same amount of time. Whether you're in a cycling block or not, there's still only so much time you can actually sit in the VO2 max.
That's right, and so much fatigue that you can cope with.
Yeah, exactly. I think probably the biggest thing for me leading in is taking away the run sessions. It seems like, I guess, you're just able to tap into, like more power on the bike.
Better quality.
Yeah, running's, I think it's just so hard on your legs. So taking away, that fast running or the 2 run sessions a week, just, I guess allowed more recovery and you can tap into that higher level.
Yeah, brilliant. You used to a 40K-ish leg as part of your triathlon. How do you feel about lining up for 100Ks on the mountain bike, single track, technical trail, plenty of up and down?
Yeah, look, it didn't bother me too much, I guess, probably because I raced the Pioneer in December. And that was really unplanned. So I'd come back from Maui. I had 2 weeks off. I hadn't even actually unpacked my bike out of the bike bag. It was super last minute. The opportunity came up, and it was there, and it was always something that I wanted to do.
Cool.
So I knew, like the distance was going to be fine. It wasn't an issue riding the bike for that long. But probably the thing that scared me the most is, the 86 K of single trail out of the 100K.
Yes.
I think that's the scary thing. You're actually having to physically move that bike around. It's not just your legs doing all the work.
And it's your arms that are sore at the end of it. It's not my legs and things. It's actually my upper body often, just by the way they have to ride your bike.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think the mental drain as well. It's easy to ride well at the start of the race, but to try and hold, I guess that form or just not make mistakes.
Just picking lines, isn't it? Because it's on the whole time.
Yeah. Exactly. And that gets really, really tough, at the end of a 4-5 hour race. Which leads on to my next question. You're clearly pretty handy at locking yourself in that hurt locker for extended periods of time, especially because you're riding with Tim Rush. You guys are going head to head, which makes it even harder as well. How do you manage that focus? And I'm just because you're both trying to break each other as well, aren't you? Like that's just the way that tell us about that hurt locker bit, and then also tell us about how your race kind of unfolded with Tim. Yeah, look, I probably wouldn't even think too much about, it's part and parcel of racing, right? I mean, you up on a start line, you should be there prepared to hurt. If you're not, then you're probably lining up for the wrong reasons. So I don't know. I guess everybody strives to be known as a bit of a hard bugger.
And that's good for your head as well. Just you knowing that for yourself to say that I'm willing to hurt more than you. That must help the way.
And I guess the mindset, like I try and take into a lot of races, even, some of the big ones is you can't really control, how the other guys are going. If somebody has a flyer, there's nothing you can do about that. I mean, the only thing you can do is get yourself, in the best possible shape. So as long as you can finish the race and that you've completely emptied the tank, that should be the goal of most races, make sure you finish. And you're not kind of wondering, like, what if, I had gone deeper up here or, gone deeper over here.
So you're really you're focusing on yourself effectively. Yes,
in a way. I mean,
you're doing as best as I can.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you must go with the race and you must respond, to what's happening in the race. Whether you're trying to call someone's bluff or they're trying to call yours. I mean, that's racecraft. You need to make those decisions on the fly. But I guess it's just, I don't know. Yeah, you expect to be hurting, if you're lining up on a start line, the number goes on.
You're into it. So there's no sort of set things that you do. It's just part of racing. It's just push and go.
I think that's kind of the thing, I enjoy about it is just essentially seeing, like where is the limit?
What am I capable of?
What am I capable of? And when you do go over it, well, it's not always pleasant, but it's nice to, to push that and just see.
You've got to find that line, don't you? And that's part of what it's about. So you and Tim had a great battle for second and third. How often are you actually attacking each other and getting a gap? Did you ride the whole race together, or how did that unfold?
It was kind of together. I was descending a little bit quicker than Tim, which was quite nice. He's a hard man to race against. He's just so fit and climbs so well. Yeah. I don't know if he was doing it on purpose in the race or, that's just how he rides. But he seemed to be riding the start of the climbs really front heavy. So he'd really punch and and it was really, really hard to, try and hold his wheel. A couple of times I was actually dropped off the back and I managed to get back on, in the later parts of the climb.
Okay.
But where I could, it was just trying to maximize, the technical riding and the descent. So I didn't have to start the climb with him.
Okay. So you'll get a bit of a gap, and if he comes back to me, well done to him.
Yeah. Well, believe it or not, he came back every damn time.
Damn it. Yeah.
But yeah, he does. I mean, it's his style of riding. He does a lot of climbing out of the seat, which is really difficult to try and sit on his wheel. It just seems like he can put out so much power and somehow can hold so much traction on that back wheel when he does it, even on the long climbs and the loose climbs. And all you're thinking is, Christ, mate, would you just bloody sit down so like
you can get
off a little bit?
Yeah, that's right, because it's a bit surgy, isn't he, when he's out of his saddle?
Yeah. But I was kind of fortunate in that he was riding them so front heavy. And I guess he's probably trying to break me on them. But when we started to get to the top of the climbs, I guess, I don't know, maybe it was the desire of knowing that I needed to really get into the trail first. So I tried to not start that next climb with him.
Okay. Yeah, right. So
I managed to just come around them, which was nice. Yeah.
Yep, fantastic. So good on you. So in terms of others, like, what are your tips? Is this the first time you've ridden Whaka? Because obviously you're generally away racing and racing the worlds and things. Is this the first time?
Yeah, it is the first time. I mean, it always is around, kind of the same time as Maui, either like a week before or 2 weeks before or the week of. So the timing's a little bit off, for me. So, Tim, I know Tim's listening. If you could put it the weekend after, that'd be grand. But it's always kind of being like one of those, I don't know, it just appeals to me, like it's an epic race. And, it's kind of like the Pioneer, the Whaka, I put them in the same kind of, bag. They're just, I don't know, epic things that you kind of want to go and tick off.
Yes. It's that whole thing is, can I actually do it? And then also how, for you, is how well I can do it as well.
Yeah, I guess that's the biggest motivation, like it's kind of not my game. While I do race on the mountain bike, it's kind of taking you kind of out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
And also actually, like removing all of the pressure, people don't have an expectation on how well you should go. You're just kind of trying to show, I guess, yourself, and see how close can I get to some of these top guys.
Well, Sam, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for joining us and giving us an in-depth to how your race went down. Big congrats on getting third. Big congrats to Samantha for one-upping you and getting second. I'm sure that's rolling through the house at the moment. But
thanks for reminding me.
Is that bike clean yet? How's that going?
No, the bike hasn't been cleaned. And it won't be. We're not overseas racing at the moment, so that rule does not apply.
Is that right?
I'm not packing it into a bike bag.
I hope you didn't adjust those rules.
The one thing we have been asking everybody, obviously, as you've heard, Sam, is what is one key tip? But I'm going to preempt yours, and I'm going to get you to tell us about working on your sprint.
Yeah,
Christ, mate. I don't know if you saw, but it's the second sprint finish I've lost in 7 days. The one in Taupo, I can admit I probably bumbled it up badly, but I don't know I genuinely don't know what I could have done any better at Whaka. Rushy just had too much gas, for me.
Yeah. So I guess the key thing is for everybody, there's all sorts of facets and avenues and things that you actually need to work on, and you just never know when you're going to end up in a finishing shoot, and you're going to need that extra bloody 2% just in that sprint there. So never forget to at the end of a long training ride, perhaps just about when you're nearly at home, just to throw down those watts to get it down the street.
I think maybe this is the time I say, hey, I'm a triathlete.
Great call. Good call. Sam,
good job.
Thanks so much for joining us, mate. All the best.
Thanks for having me on.
No worries. Good job. Cheers. All right. Wow, what a night so far, Rich. What a great night, really.
Giving it heaps. So let's get rolling. Clement Holgate is our next guest on the show. Clement has a pretty awesome story. He rode a single speed. First time up at the Whaka 100. Let's do it on a single speed. But that's not all.
And well, that's right. That's not all. He is a type 1 diabetic. So, Rich, I was just going to say that often I find you fluttering around looking for your book of excuses and a way to get out of something. But Clement, surely Clement does not own a book of excuses. This man is just right into it. Welcome, Clement.
Hey, guys.
How are
Brilliant.
you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Pleasure to be on.
Awesome. Congratulations on your race in the weekend. Huge effort. You've done very well.
Yeah, really happy. I wasn't too sure what to expect, and it all went to plan a little bit better than I thought it would. So yeah, I'm stoked.
Brilliant. So you're a local. You've ridden these trails before. Like you knew what you were getting yourself into.
Yeah. I know Tim's a bit of a punisher when it comes to putting this track together. So knew there'd be some big climbs, but been living in Rotorua for close to 3 years now. So yeah, we live 2K from the forest, so the trails are pretty well known to us. Yeah.
Brilliant. So you decide to have a crack on your single speed. Why the single speed? What was the motivation there? Like having another gear or two to click into. Angus, I think you're probably pretty keen to click into that granny gear a few times.
Always.
What's the motivation for taking it on in a single speed? That's a big job.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Maybe to prove a point. But it's also what was sitting in the garage. Got an enduro bike because it sort of lends itself to Rotorua as well, and I didn't really feel like buying an XC bike for the Whaka. So had loads of people offering me gears when they knew I was doing it on the single speed, but I was keen for a challenge.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how do you select your gear? Well, how does that happen? Because obviously you've got to get up the hills. Do you factor in a bit of walking or running to a time? And what about the downhills? How do you manage that?
Yeah, so your gear selection is pretty important. I've got a box full of them in the garage, and just figuring out, like living in town, you can sort of figure out which one works and not. And for me, it was about being able to climb the hills. So in the lead up, I made sure I could get up all the hills and made sure I could get up them when I was still tired. So the biggest thing for me with my gearing was making sure I could climb. There's not too much sort of flat out forest roads, so I didn't have to have a real high end gear at the other end. And then on the more technical descents, it was more about pumping and maintaining speed and sort of holding on to it rather than trying to find it.
Yeah, to really work the bike so much. It's more relaxed, sort of a downhill. How do you become a fast descender? Because obviously that's a key part of your race as well, actually trying to be smooth. How do you learn that? How do you practice that? What are some tips for others? Because this is a technical race that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily turn up to because it's a bit tricky for me. What are some tips along those lines?
Yeah, I think practice. You start with something you can ride and you get better at it, and then you move on to the next one. So it certainly helps being local and knowing the trails. You can drop into them feeling a lot more confident. And I've ridden a bike since I was a grom, so there's not too much out there on the technical side. Again, being on the single speed with 100mm front travel, it certainly kept me on my toes. But I think it's just confidence, knowing you can ride it, not going in blind and not knowing what to expect.
And it's building that confidence up, isn't it? Starting at a level that you're comfortable with and then just pushing the boundaries bit by bit so you don't sort of go too far and blow that confidence to pieces. Yeah,
absolutely. Like my first run down Hot Cross, again on the hardtail, was a bit hairy. And then, after a couple of months of riding it, I sort of figured it out. So,
yeah. Brilliant. Good stuff. So as a type 1 diabetic, so let's throw another bit in the mix here. What are the challenges that you need to manage compared to someone that doesn't have diabetes and type 1 diabetes? So type 1 diabetes is where you have to inject yourself and manage your own insulin and blood sugar levels effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. So type 1 diabetes is insulin dependent diabetes. So my pancreas doesn't produce insulin, and insulin takes the sugar out of your blood and gives it to your muscles to use. So it's a pretty multifaceted kind of approach. The biggest thing people were telling me in the lead up was that I'd need to eat, regardless of being diabetic or not. They said, if you're fit and you can make the 100K, that's great. But the reason you're bonk is that you haven't had enough to eat. So being diabetic, you've got to manage your blood sugar. Your blood sugar drops when you do exercise. It drops when you take insulin, and then it climbs when you eat or if you get nervous. So on the bike, or if I'm exercising, I probably take half as much insulin as I do when I'm not exercising. But then that can change depending on if it's cold or if you're training really hard or if you've got a runny nose or whatever it is. So
or sleep last night.
Exactly right. Yeah, so on the start line for me, I must have been a bit nervous and my blood sugars actually skyrocketed. So I couldn't really eat for the first 50K. At 25K, my partner was there and we did bloods and ended up having to take some insulin, which made me quite nervous because I wasn't sure how much my bloods were going to drop as a result.
Because if you've got exercise that drops blood sugar plus insulin that drops blood sugar, that's when you start getting into problems of not enough blood sugar, and then you're getting wobbly and passing out.
Yeah. So being high is probably a little bit better, but really not. If it's too low, then you're in real trouble. So always try and run a little bit higher, but yeah, it got outrageously high, and not being able to eat, I was getting real nervous about that because I was like, my legs are going to fall off.
Jesus, okay.
Yeah, no, managed to find a bit of a balance and come through 75, and I was back into a range where I knew I could eat, and I just fed myself stupid for the last 25, and it went good. So.
Right, so you're taking blood sugars. Like, how long does it take to do? Like in the old days, blood sugar took like a minute to come through. What's it happens these days?
Yeah, so the new meters are pretty quick. It's about it might be a 10-second turnaround on the machine. But yeah, you got to stop, clean your finger, draw some blood, get the machine going. And so yeah, it still takes a bit of time, and so I had to stop the 3 times at each aid station to do that, and then determining. So I had to take an injection at the first one, nothing at the second one, and then decided I needed a can of Coke at the third one. So they certainly soaked up a little bit of time, and it'd be nice to not have to do that. There's certainly technology out there now that allows you to have it read your blood sugar and put it through to your Garmin or to your watch or to your phone and things like that. So I mean, if in the future, if I was to do it again, it might be something I look at, but it is quite expensive. So you need to be sort of really into it.
Yes, yeah. So how did the race unfold for you? What was your time in the end? You had a blinder. What was it, 5 something or other?
Yeah, 5:27.
That's
what
crazy.
my Garmin was. I'm not sure if that's what the official time was, but
yeah.
I mean, again, before the race, not having done it before, I was aiming for under 6.5. I thought that was achievable. And in the days before it, I thought it was maybe being a bit ambitious, but I really didn't check my time until maybe that 60k mark, and then I was doing some quick maths and thought, actually this is going to go real good. And so the first 50k was hard. The first 25 with really high blood sugars, my legs were just real heavy. Had no gas. I felt like I was going too hard. I had my partner's voice in my head saying, "Don't blow yourself up in the first half." The second 25 just sort of took it a little bit more easy. I'd taken some insulin and I was waiting for the bloods to drop a bit. And then the second 50 sort of turned the gas up a bit and brought it home there. So it went pretty well. I suppose I know if everything lined up, it could go a little bit better, which is frustrating because it probably means I've got to do it again. But
it's dangerous, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. Like one, I don't even need to ask you, will you be back? Because it sounds like you will. But having done it now and been through all of that, will you be back with gears or will you be sticking to the single speed?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I suppose I've proven a point now. But if I go to gears, I know I'd have to go even faster. So if I stick on the single speed, at least I got an excuse if I go slower.
Well, we'll stay tuned for the entry list next year to see what that decision becomes over the next 11 months. But thank you, Clement, for joining us. Thank you for sharing your story. It is actually an incredible story, and one for everybody out there to know that there's no obstacles, there's no hurdles, just the right frame of mind and some good preparation, and you can do anything, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Be prepared and get into it.
Good job. Well done, Clement. Awesome effort. Fantastic race in the weekend, and look forward to cheering on in the future.
Awesome. Cheers, boys.
Good job.
Thanks, Clement. All right. And now, Richard, we're getting to the pointy end of the show. And we've actually been lucky enough to get a local Cantabrian. So we've got to give him some props for that. Sending it up there to the North Island, sending the mainland to the north to bring home the trophy. Welcome, Ben Oliver.
G'day, fellas. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. Good.
How's the recovery? How are the legs?
Yeah, not bad. Had a pretty few cruisy days and went out for 3 hours today on the roadie, trying to get the road legs back, getting ready for the weekend, old tour of Southland. But yeah, feeling not too bad.
Yeah, good. That's a good little hit out prior to tour of Southland. Hey, what was your goals leading into Whaka? Like, did you have an idea? Hey, I want to try and win this thing. What were your? Had you raced it before? What was the mindset going into the weekend?
No, I hadn't raced it before, but I mean, you always as a racer, you want to go on to win it. So I was definitely flying up there with the goal to have a good race and try win it and get a solid day's riding in the legs. So no, I was pretty stoked to pull it off, because it's just one of those events that a lot of things can happen, and it's a long day out there on the trails. So to pull it off was pretty stoked.
So, in terms of the race and how it unfolded, how did you manage the shootout? How did you do that? Did you put it all on the line, knowing that the next day was coming in? How did that go?
Oh, you got to put it all on the line if there's $250 up for grabs. So get the money back for my flights for the weekend. But no, it's good fun. It's cool to do like a little mountain bike time trial, which you never do really. So yeah, just fully sent it and cranked it along the 4-drive road to start with, and then Rosebank coming back. It's quite a fun little trail. So, and then you can't actually pedal too hard along that. So emptied the tank and kind of sprinted to the line, and was good enough to take it out.
Yeah, good. So the motivation was the flights to win some money here. It doesn't really, I'm not worried about tomorrow. I'm just going to try and win this for today.
Yeah, pretty much. It was good hit out. And I mean, any event you can try and win it. So, and 5 minutes going full gas isn't going to do anything for the race tomorrow. So that was all good.
Do you feel that almost primes you for the next day? Like, actually, I'm just used and ready for that sort of that top end.
Yeah, I guess like the Whaka 100 don't need too much top end, because it's a long day out. But I definitely didn't do any damage to the legs. Felt pretty good out there the next day, so it was all good.
Yeah, brilliant. So standing on the start line, what were your tactics? How do you go about pacing yourself? Because you're not used to riding 100Ks. You're used to riding sort of probably a lap cross country 40K ish type course. So what were your plan standing on the start line?
Not really much of a plan, because you don't really know how you're going to feel over that distance, and it's been a long time between drinks of like a proper race. So yeah, I just wanted to go out there and enjoy it really, and like the Whaka 100's got some pretty mean trails, and just wanted to keep out of trouble and like use your mountain bike skills to your advantage. So keep near the front on the downhills, or if not in the front, and just have fun and push the pace, and then make the others try and catch you if they can't hold your wheel. And yeah, old man Sam Osbourne, we got away a few times, and it was pretty good fun, But no, for the first part of the race, I was keeping yourself entertained and had a few good chats going along with the boys as we were riding along. And then it wasn't until after like the 50K point that got a wee bit serious.
So you're talking to the other guys, are you? Like Sam or Tim, or who you? Is anyone talking back, or is it just Ben just sort of yapping away? What's going on?
No, it was all good. There's anyone that wanted a yarn, or if something funny happened, you'd have a bit of a laugh about it. Or it's too long a race to try and be fully focused the whole time. So I mean, it's almost like a bit of a road race to start with. Like, you're not at the point where you're real tired, so everyone can still have a bit of a talk, whether they wanted to or not. I'm not too sure, but it was all good.
Yeah, brilliant. So at the 50K mark, was that like, actually, I'm feeling quite good, let's try and sort of make a bit of a gap? Were you still with the guys at that sort of halfway point?
Yeah, I think there was 5 of us left there at that point, but it was definitely thinning out a wee bit. Like, we had probably a group of 8 for quite a long time, but it was just, I was kind of wondering like how long everyone could keep going at that pace, really, because we weren't mucking around for the first 50K. And then I think it was Tim who pushed the pace on the hill up to frontal first, and then he slowed up a bit, and I kind of carried it on. And just noticed a few of the boys started to suffer a little bit towards the top of frontal heading into Billy T. And I was like, oh, if I can break the string a little bit now, and then it'll just mean I can kind of rest later, or just keep pushing the pace with it if they haven't caught me or not. And just enjoyed the downhills over the back of the course and managed to open up a bit of a gap.
So it was a bit of out of sight, out of mind. Was that kind of the tactics at that stage when you made that little bit of a gap?
Yeah, pretty much, because I was actually surprised early on. Like, a few of the guys were going real good on the downhills, which probably quicker than what I expected, because I was given a few beans down the hills, and then they were on my wheel. So I'm like, well, if they can't see me, then they'll have to make their own pace, and then try to catch me up again. So, and probably take a few more risks. But so it worked out in the end.
Yeah, it's yeah, absolutely. It's a long race. There's plenty of things that can affect your day. Obviously, that you are, as you say, you talk about taking risks and things. Is there anything that didn't exactly go to plan, that you kind of you had a wobble, or hey, that wasn't so flash, or the old whitesy eyes lit up?
I mean, if you're following Sam Shaw down the tracks in Rotorua, you're going to have a few wild moments. So, yeah, down old hot cross buns, I had a few times where I was like, well, that was a pretty close one. Went a bit further over a drop, or didn't nearly go OTB, where it was pretty nose heavy a few times. And then, but nah, it's pretty good. It was mostly in control, I'll say.
Yeah, well, and that's the beauty of riding mountain bikes, though, isn't it? It must be part of the reason that hey, it's that line of being in control but not quite in control.
Yeah, you want to find the limit, and if you're not finding the limit, you're probably not going quick enough down some of the downhill. So you just need a few moments now and again just to rein it in a little bit, and then you kind of find your flow.
How do you push the pace? Like, how do you train that? Obviously, it's about, like we talked about, building confidence and things like that. But do you go to the adventure park and jump on a downhill bike or something like that? What do you do for your skills?
Just race your mates. That's the best thing you can do. I mean, always had brother to train with, and he's gone a bit more enduro now. So, but I'm never going to want him to ride away from me if he's on his enduro bike and I'm on mine. So you're always just pushing each other along, and that's what, as a mountain biker, that's what you enjoy the most. Just on the trails and pushing the pace along and just having a bit of fun. So yeah, just got to go hard.
Perfect. How much skin have you lost off your knees? Like, have you got a full quota right now as you talk about sort of pushing the pace and catching up with your brother?
Yeah, I'm fully intact at the moment. I think I dinged my shin not too long ago on the old enduro bike. I think we're riding like Mount Richardson or something, but nah, I'm all good, and I was pretty happy to get through the weekend unscathed because I haven't done too much training on like the mountain bike, or haven't done that much riding on trails lately, just been on the road. But yeah, probably the longer the day went in the Whaka, the probably better I was feeling on the downhills.
Nice. So technical question that we do get asked a lot. What tyres do you run? What tyre pressures do you run for the likes of Whaka 100?
I went for the old Maxxis Aspens, the 2.25s. They're by far my go-to in any cross-country race and like marathon race or whatever. And yeah, I just find they just roll super quick and have enough grip to get you through the day, and just real comfortable riding them now. So yeah, I don't run ridiculously low pressures because you just risk getting a flat tire even more. But yeah, probably 23 in the front, like 24 in the back is pretty standard for me.
Yep, brilliant. And so the same tire front and back that you're running?
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah, if it's real rough or loose, I might run like a recon race or something similar. But yeah, the Aspens I find like the fastest for sure.
Perfect. Now, I'm supposed to have the last question here, Ben, but as you said, as you talked about before, that the early part of the race, there was a bit of smack talk obviously going on and some good chat between some mates. I've actually just had a question whispered in my ear here from one of our previous guests. So I'm actually going to throw the floor to Sam. He's actually got a question for you that we're going to end on here. So Sam, fire away.
G'day, mate.
How good to see you again.
Yeah.
Nice that I'm not looking at your back wheel this time. My question is, I want to know how on the limit you were down No Brains when you took the King of the Mountains off Win Masters.
I was pretty surprised with that one, eh? Like, I just think that's the side of the forest that I don't know if anyone really rips that downhill, but probably a cross-country bike's just quicker for that downhill, eh? Like, I wasn't mucking around. I had a pretty good run down it and was pedaling pretty hard on the flat sections. So if you're on an enduro bike, it wouldn't roll as quick. But yeah, when I seen that, I was pretty surprised. He might go back out there and take it again if he sees that someone took it off him. Who knows?
Beautiful. Thanks, Sam. Righto, you're out of here.
Good job. Well done, Ben.
Ben, so what's your next move? Tour of Southland, obviously. What comes after Tour of Southland? Are you staying local? Got the national series?
Yeah, staying local, do probably the local like single track club events are always a hit over summer, like the weeknights that they do that just in the Horsell Quarry, which pretty handy for us Christchurch people actually, that we got national champs in Horsell in February sometime, I think it is. So yeah, do a tour of Southland, do another lap of the South, and then come back for Crit Nationals, and yeah, probably have a bit of a break and hopefully go for a few good missions on the bike somewhere over summer, and yeah, crack back into it next year and hopefully get some overseas racing in again and see what happens.
Perfect.
Good
Well,
job, Sam.
huge congratulations, Ben, for taking out the Whaka 100. That is an absolute trophy to put on anybody's mantelpiece, that's for sure. Hopefully you'll go back next year to defend it.
Yeah, I'll see how it works in. Like, I was pretty stoked that could do it this year, especially with the limited racing that's been happening. So yeah, I mean, I'll have to now, have to make it work. She'll be right.
Perfect. Right.
Well done. Love your work, Ben.
Cheers.
Thanks, Ben.
Cheers.
Cheers. Actually, just on that, Richard, that the local Christchurch single track club, their Wednesday night, I'm pretty sure they're Wednesday nights, they're short track racing there. So I'd like to put my my absentee form for Wednesday night roadies in there, because I'm thinking there could be some summer racing going on at the quarry for me.
Because you need to line up for Whaka next year, clearly, don't you? That's
well, clearly, and that's right. Need my technical skills. Well, this is so far, Richard, we're nearly at the end of our show, and I think there's no better way to end tonight's Whaka 100 special with two amazing people, Tim and Belinda Farmer, who are the Whaka 100. Richard, they are the people that put this on. I've got to say that, I've been there a couple of times. If you've been there and competed and you've been out on the course, you'll know how professional this race is. If you've been to the race village and seen the setup that they've got there, you'll know how professional this is. If you've seen any of their social media, any of the stuff that comes out about it, you can just see the professionalism that is the Whaka 100 and the heart and the soul that goes into this. So Tim, Belinda, welcome to our show. Firstly, thank you for bringing everybody this Whaka 100 this year.
That's all good. Big year for everybody, really. So glad we got it done.
Yeah,
no, you've done super well, and stoked for you. You guys must be, as a competitor, it's pretty awesome to actually be able to finish the Whaka 100, and can be a pretty emotional thing. But for you guys, it must be pretty emotional just to be able to get to the start line and then see people get over the finish line with smiles on their faces. What did it mean to you, especially this year of all years, to get this event off the ground?
I think the biggest thing for us, we were in level 4 lockdown, and we thought we were going to be good. Did go a bit touch and go with Auckland, but we knew that the event was going to give back to the local community, the tourism guys, all the people that had suffered, as well as all the riders that had sort of been through the highs and lows. And obviously a lot of people had, suffered from mental health and all that sort of thing. So we knew that the event was going to give back to the community. We just didn't know how, and we just didn't know when either. So yeah, it was just really awesome to have a positive impact on everybody, really. So yeah,
and even on Monday we'd finished course clearing and just close to the event village's secret spot, so we dipped our feet in the shinies and had a cider, and old Keith, the owner, came over and said that weekend was the best weekend on record. So we're pretty humble with that, helping out, supporting local. Yeah,
good stuff. What's your favorite thing about the event? First of all, actually, before that, how long have you been doing this for?
We're going into our 7th year.
So we're actually literally came back from Wembo, where I first met Gus in 2013. Belinda was in my pit crew back then, and we came back and said, why can't we have big events in New Zealand like this? Because the events, mountain biking wasn't considered big. It didn't have the feel, didn't have the branding, didn't have the excitement at the finish line. And so about the same time, Marcus, who you guys know, had Enduro. That was him and Dean Watson set it up. And so I actually raced the Whaka 100, I think it was 6 days after coming back from Wembo, and I wasn't too healthy at Wembo. And I blew up, which is on now the King of the Mountains stage. That's why it's really hard. I made it a bit longer and harder. But I blew up, sat down and had a cry. Literally had a cry, threw my bike in the bushes, and vowed I'd never race my bike again until I started training with you last year, Rich.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, I went through that journey, and we know that Belinda's yet to be thrown under the bus and do the race yet, but that'll come. But we know what people are going through, and so we try to find all the things that we've experienced and we've suffered in the event and go, how can we make it better for people?
Yeah.
And that's our main focus, is we're trying to take the experience that we think people want to have from our race background and apply it into the event. It doesn't
put on a show that we want to enter, which we can't enter.
Yeah, and the first few years we actually we tried to race in the events because we felt like we were missing out. Well, we had big FOMO on our own event, which seems really weird, but
that's a good thing.
But now it's become the point where it's actually seeing other people finish. And as much as Ben's win was awesome, it was the guys that came in 11 hours. We shared a video of their wife and kids meeting them at the finish line. And I don't think there was a dry eye on the finish line. Like I had to stop videoing because I was actually crying. Just because I knew what they had been through, and I knew that you could just imagine and feel the suffer that these guys have been through.
And ticking that goal.
They made it. So, and I do, as everybody keeps alluding to, I do like to suffer. So yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. So what's your favourite thing about the event, or favourite things?
Yeah.
Well, I've got five. I couldn't pick one. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you got, Belinda?
The top one, so post-event, seeing one of the photographer's photos, just like the lineup of the mass, and that was just the 100K, and I was just like, far out. That's pretty incredible. We're putting a show on for these guys.
I think you got another one of that one. So that
one, yeah.
That there is the elites. I think the elites might have already gone in that one. Oh no, so the elites are still in there, but that is literally only the 100K riders.
And it goes around the back of that backdrop around the corner with more riders, and just, I don't know, warms the heart, makes you feel good. The one that I actually physically couldn't talk to the ladies, but the ladies team came in and Tim was yelling at me, get the gold medal, this is our ladies team. So they didn't make prize giving, but when they crossed the finish, I ran over their 2 gold medals. They took first place, and I was like, oh, just incredibly proud of them. And yeah, I couldn't talk to them. I just handed it over and then walked away. And then this year we put in a new innovation for the event. We had Tim had this idea of shop boxes, having the athlete rubbish. The worst thing is trying to put a sticky gel back in your pocket, so you want to try and get rid of it. So I was pretty stoked to go along the next day and collect all that rubbish, clearly with gloves on because of germs and stuff. But that kind of was like, yay, that new thing that we've created to put in the event, it's worked. And fourthly, just our crew, just throw any jobs at them and they just get the work done, and just immensely proud of our team. Tim and I, we're here, but as in there's 12, 15 crew behind us that get everything done. And all the volunteers, we had at least 100 volunteers come on board. Huge kudos to those guys, even the ones that dress up, they're in there waving their arms around, getting hot and sweaty. Road cone ladies, Santa, there's 3 ladies that they dedicate their weekend to come along, and they even made their costumes this year. They were at the top of
they made them last year too.
Top of Moorangi, going into Kung Fu. They're amazing. And the man sitting next to me, he's the drive behind it all.
That's me.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Number 5.
He's the highlight. Yeah. So thanks,
good
Tim.
stuff.
Doing it together.
Nice.
Yeah,
What's
I think the big thing is the volunteers. If you haven't volunteered in an event, they don't. No matter how much funding they get from the government or how much you pay in entry fees, events need volunteers. And the volunteers just make the riders' experience just next level. And we've slowly, thanks to Teresa Wilson, who's been a glory of our girl, and the high vis. I think they had a sign, a stop go paddle saying you're winning this year. They've actually created this culture, and I think Merv Hurst as well is dressed up as Jesus, and and Adam Hughes from Tauranga that came over. He was Santa, and he's in a blow-up Santa suit all day. You can just imagine how much water he's dripping out of the bottom at the end of the day. But we've created this culture where we're slowly trying to bring this atmosphere onto the course as well, because we can do it in the event venue, but we actually need all these volunteer people that are just excited to see other people suffering, and to go out there and keep them going. So that's huge. And I suppose the big thing, our biggest fundamental part of this event is Shane and Jude from Porirua. I think they're down in Porirua. Angus will know them, but they travel up here. They travel up here for 5 days every year. They don't get paid. They won't take payment. We help them out in other ways, but they're the guys that go and pick up all the arrows, all the tape off the course, and they're volunteering to do that, and they've been doing it for
as long as we've been
doing it.
Yeah.
So no, that was really cool. So yeah, and my big one is quite a few riders this year mentioned the level of service in the feed zone. So it's changed a bit from when you boys did it. That the feed zone, what we have radio spotters that are a substantial amount of distance from the feed zone, and they're actually radioing in the numbers of the riders and the sequence are coming in. And they got the bag there ready. They're ready there to help the rider. So we know that the cramp monster can hit in the feed zone. So we're trying to make that, again, enhancing that rider's experience and something that we've suffered through. So, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. No, that's awesome. What's the plan for next year, guys? Because you're always looking to innovate and bigger and better. Bigger's always not necessarily better. But what's the plan for next year?
There will be no run in it next year. If we can beat COVID, we'll have no run in the Whaka 100. The run event made that extremely taxing. I think I did 120 odd hours that week, sleeping 2 to 4 hours a night for a whole week. But the fat tire crit is likely, very, very likely to move into the CBD and be a man-made course in the CBD. So that's something I'm pretty excited about, and I've been even back when I was involved in Crankworks, I was sort of quite excited to try and get a fat tire crit put into the city. So we'll likely get that happen. The 100 miler that is rolling out next year. We're just finalising it. We've got a brand new course again next year, so we've got to work around. Obviously, being a working forest, there's harvesting going on, and there's a lot of course that we had this year will be gone. Right. So again, there's a brand new course next year, so something a bit more exciting. Nobody will know what the course is going to be like until about March. We'll announce that, and so yeah, it's just going to be sort of 3 days. We're going back. We plan to do it this year. We plan to be on that 2-day format where the 50K was on the Saturday and the 100K was on the Sunday, purely because they're getting 500 to 600 riders each in each of those groups, and because because there's a lot of single track in the event. To give you an insight, this year we had 1,000 riders in the space of 1 hour and 5 kilometers of trail. So so what we had to try and do is manage that rider experience, as well as making sure the elites had a favourable path through the other riders. We also had to manage the everyday rider, their experience, the public's experience, the shuttle guys are still going. So we've got to manage all those other experiences, and so yeah, we do have to go to that 2-day format. It's not going to be suitable for everybody, but what it does allow, people can try and crack 200 Ks on a weekend, which I know has already been a topic of conversation in the last few days. So people are going to try and do the 50K on the Saturday and then do the 100 miler on the Sunday. So
there you go. Why do people have these ideas? Like you have to go and do it. Oh God,
I think we might have to bring Tim Hurst out of retirement for that one. So.
Brilliant. To wrap up, guys, any tips? Like, give us one tip each for people that are coming along to do this event for their first time. What would you say to them?
My top tip would be definitely get a coach. Team CP plug. Grab a coach, and don't just get a generic program offline. So get one that's specific to the event, the Whaka 100, the hills, and the technical trails. That'll be my top tip. Yeah.
Yep,
yeah, and my one is actually commit. Like enter enter early. Like I'd entered the Pioneer and I hadn't raced for 4 years, and when I started working with Rich last year before I crashed, but I entered because then I had to train. I had to get out of bed in the morning. I had to go do all that stuff, and it changes your life. You know, it might suck for the first month of training, but then you actually become more energetic. You become more focused, and you're a better person too. So make that commitment to yourself early. It's cheaper to enter too, so we're not going to gain anything by it. We're actually better off when people enter last minute. So, but yeah, enter early and commit for yourself, and then you can give it a good go. But yeah, I also want to just before we wrap up, is we're talking about Clem before. He actually finished 23rd overall, and he is in the middle of the elite field. So
taking blood sugar levels at each aid station and adjusting, having a bit of an insulin here and there, and without eating too much because the blood sugars were too high. Epic.
Amazing.
Maybe there's actually something in that. Maybe I need to start taking my levels and just doctoring it a little bit.
Yeah, eating a bit less.
I believe you're stopping for other reasons, Gus. It's probably because Richard's in the upside down in the creek, but hey.
Just waiting for you, Angus. They had to wait somewhere hot.
You get yourself in trouble here, Richard, if you talk too much.
Best we wrap up then. No, that's awesome, guys. Thanks for your time. Thanks for all the things that you do, and we'll look forward to. I've already booked the family holiday in for next year, so there's some serious FOMO. I think I've already mentioned of going on, not being able to be there this year. So we're going to come up and enjoy the Rotorua experience and bring the kids up as well. So it's going to be awesome.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Entries open next Thursday too, so if you got one of those 100-miler spots, they're going to be limited. So get in quick if you're qualified.
So what is the qualification there, just quickly, Tim?
Oh, you put me on the spot now. You didn't tell me to research that one. 8 hours 30. I'd like to say 8 hours 30, or if you've done a Pioneer or something like that, we will call that acceptable. You might see another marathon pop up late summer coming up this year, this coming summer, called the Highlander. For a lot of those old school mountain bikers, you'll know the Highlander. So that may be back. We'll announce that in the next 2 weeks. So that'll be a 75k point to point rather than a giant loop. But we'll also add that as a qualifying event as well. So there's 320 people qualified this year. Just because we had optimum conditions, and I believe we have between 100 and 200 on the please let me in list on the expressions of interest. So
that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's a lot
and I know we've called it a race, but it's more of an experience. They're going to have the milers are going to have an actual a briefing lunch at a location that we'll announce soon, but they'll actually have a lunch together and a briefing the day before, and they're going to get a really nice package, and it's almost going to be a fellowship when you do the 100 milers, because a few of the guys down there that in the South Island that do these 100 milers, thinking it's going to be one of the tougher ones around on the planet at the moment, so it's going to be quite interesting.
Good, nice. Well, once again, thank you both, Belinda and Tim, for everything that you've done, everything that you do for the Whaka 100. Team CP are absolutely proud to be involved and be in partnership with you to help people achieve their dreams and goals there at the Whaka 100. And we'll certainly be there next year all the way through to help everybody along. So all the best. We look forward to catching up with you on any announcements that you may have that you may need a platform to broadcast them on. Going forward, and again, from everybody out there that competed in the weekend, that's competed in the past, thanks team, great job.
Thank you
guys.
Brilliant. Well done, guys. Over and out.
Well, Rich, that just about wraps up the end of our Whaka 100 special.
It does indeed, yeah. So just finally, Evo Cycles, Giant Bikes, let us know why you want to do the race or what you love about Whaka 100. Put a comment below, and we've got a couple of awesome prizes to give out from our fantastic partners there.
We certainly do. And don't forget that you can rewatch this episode on our Facebook channels, on our YouTube channel. It will be up as a podcast for you to listen to. Next week, Richard, it's the 1st of the month, so it is a Kathmandu Coast to Coast special again.
Yes, yep, rolling around. So yeah, fantastic to support all these wonderful events. Hopefully educate, teach people, and share some fantastic experiences.
Yeah, well, I've got a holiday to finish, Richard, so I'm going to cut and run, my man. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next week.
Yep, well done, Angus. Enjoy.